Hey there, my name is Dustin Tarpine and I am the winemaker and one of the owners here at Cedar Rose Vineyards. I want to thank you so much for your support of CHOP and for supporting a great cause. And I do want to apologize for the delay in getting this video out. Unfortunately, at the end of the Zoom call that we were supposed to be recording, when we went to download the actual file, for some reason there was no audio on the file. So it was just me waving my hands around, and I don't think it would have been much use to you. So we decided to retape it, so just so you guys could have the full experience. And in all honesty, I think it'll actually work out a little bit better because it was a little bit loud in the room when we were doing the taping. So the fact that I can kind of do it here on my own in a quiet room with everything in front of me here, it'll probably hopefully be a better experience for you guys. So I do apologize that you had to wait so long to get the video, but hopefully it will be a better experience than it would have been had I just kind of downloaded the Zoom call and sent that over to you guys. So let's go ahead and get started here. So we'll be pairing 3 wines with 3 different chocolates tonight, or today, or this morning, whenever you decide to actually do this video. The first one that we're going to be doing is the Confluence. So that's going to be your dry white wine blend, this bottle right here. So that's a nice dry blend, blend of Viognier, Cayuga, and Albarino. Kind of similar in my mind, sort of to like a stainless steel Chardonnay, but definitely some little bit different flavors in there. And that's going to be paired with the Cookies and Cream Bark, which is this piece right here. Really, really delicious chocolate. The second one is going to be our Kindling Edition 3. So this is our Kindling here. So Kindling is a red blend. We like to do blends here in New Jersey, especially here at Cedar Rose. A lot of times the blends actually end up being better, so that's why you'll find a lot of blends if you come down here and start tasting our wines. So the Kindling is a blend of Chambourcin, Regent, Norton, and Cabernet Sauvignon. And it's also a drier wine, kind of like a medium-bodied dry red wine that has a nice little bit of smokiness to it and some nice berry flavors as well. So that's going to be paired with the Red Velvets. So that's going to be this white chocolate here. So the interior of this is like a red velvet chocolate, which is unbelievable. And the third one's going to be the Whitetail. So the Whitetail, that's your wine right here. And so the Whitetail is going to be a sweeter white wine, not super duper sweet. We keep that one right around 4 to 5% sugar. Yeah, this one particularly was 4%. And it's although it's sweet, it still has a nice kind of brightness and acidity to it that makes it refreshing and makes it a little easier to drink, because sometimes the sweet wines can get a little bit cloying if you don't have a little bit of acidity in there to kind of balance things out. So we're going to be pairing the Whitetail with our vanilla buttercreams. So that's just your plain chocolate here. That's actually a buttercream on the inside. So before we get started with actually tasting the wines, one thing I always like to do when we do these sorts of pairings and tastings is go over what we call the 5 S's of winemaking. So the 5 S's are kind of a good way and a simplified way to really taste wine in the optimal fashion. So wine is really a product that is it's produced for the sake of enjoyment almost exclusively. Some people probably use it to brag, I would imagine, and other people use it for other potentially nefarious purposes. But really, wine at its core is a beverage that is designed to engage the senses. So, I mean all of the senses. So, when you pick the glass up, you can see the color, and you have all this array of colors of wines that are, can range all the way from almost looking like water and basically clear, all the way through to being inky, black, dark. So it's always interesting to kind of look at the wine and just admire the color of it. You can smell all the amazing aromas that come off of the wine. You get to taste the amazing flavors that the wine has. And, you get to hear all the sounds of the cork coming out and in a sparkling wine, the bubbles. So it really does engage and touch. Obviously, you're holding a glass, and it feels nice to hold a glass of wine. It really does engage all the senses. So the way we kind of taste wine in a systematic way is what we call the 5 S's. So let's go ahead and start with the confluence, since that's going to be the first one we're tasting. So if you just want to go ahead and pour yourself a portion of the confluence, however much you'd like, depending on how you're feeling, I guess. And so, as we start with the 5 S's, the first S that you're going to go to is sight. So, the first thing you do is you pour the wine out and you merely just look at it. You know, wine really can be beautiful. You know, some of the rosés and the shades of the pinks and the kind of the orangey shades that you get sometimes in rosés, you know, in the reds and the straw and gold colors that you can get in white wines. You know, wine really is beautiful. So the first one, you really just take a look at it. So you're looking at the color, you're looking at clarity, you know, is it cloudy? Is there any sedimentation in it? Are there, you know, bubbles? Things like that. These are going to be clues as to, you know, if the wine's bad, or, you know, kind of the way the wine may even taste, honestly, kind of by the way it looks and the color. You can see if it's oxidized, if it's maybe too old, you know, if you start to get some brown coloring and coloration in there, in a white wine particularly, then you know it's kind of over the hill a little bit. So the first thing we always want to do is look, and just look at the wine. So C, or sight, is going to be our first S. So the second one is going to be swirl. So after we look at it, I know you always see people swirling their wine glasses around, you know, all over the place and trying to look fancy. But there is actually a purpose to this. So what happens when you swirl a wine glass? You actually are introducing air and oxygen into the liquid, and the movement and the air and oxygen introduction encourages volatile compounds to come up off of the surface of the wine so that you can actually smell them. So we swirl it, and while we swirl it, that's going to kind of encourage it to release the aromas that are in the wine. And that brings us to our third S, which would be smell. So after you swirl, you're going to smell. So put your nose way in there and just give it a good sniff. And wines have all manner of smells. There are aromas in wines, you know, that I have come across that I've never come across in any other capacity. And then there's other aromas that you'll come across that are so strikingly familiar that they're almost nostalgic. So some of the flavors of the Labrusca grape varieties, like Niagara or Concord, like that grape jelly sort of flavor that you get in those wines, can be so nostalgic. So, you know, the butter in a Chardonnay, all these different things. And so you just want to smell the wine. In the confluence myself, I do get a little bit of a buttery sort of note there, what you would call diacetyl or butter. There's definitely a little bit of that. I get a little bit of almost like what you get, generic term you call orchard fruits, or pear and apple. You know, some kind of a little bit of a pear sort of character in there, and almost like a little bit of a vanilla, or like a floral character as well. So you know, so we like to, you know, you can really only taste 5 senses, or sorry, you really only taste 5 flavors. You can smell hundreds, if not thousands, of different things. So most of what you're tasting when you taste wine or food or really anything is actually what you're processing through your olfactory system. And it's more, it actually relies more on your sense of smell to bring you those amazing experiences of having all these flavor combinations and these amazing aromas and all these things. Even when you're eating food, you know, because you really can only taste the 5 things. So all the rest of it is the flavor compounds coming up through your olfactory system and picking up the aromas of these wines. So we go to smell. Then we go on to the 4th S, which is usually everyone's favorite, which would be sip. So now we actually go and taste the wine. And as you taste it, you want to make sure you don't just throw it in there and swallow it immediately. You know, you want to kind of move it around in your mouth. You know, try to get a little bit of air introduction in there if you can. Like I was saying, to try to encourage the aromatic compounds to get released so that you can smell them and taste them a little bit better. And just kind of taste for the different flavor components. So, like I said, you can only taste 5 things. So you're tasting, is there sweetness? Is there acid? Is it bitter? Salty, shouldn't get salty in, in really any wines. But where does it fall in this range of characteristics? Is it low acid, like something like a Chardonnay that's kind of soft and easy to drink and a little bit bigger and fuller bodied? Or is it something like a Sauvignon Blanc that's like fully, high acid, very fresh, very, kind of striking and almost sour in some cases. The Confluence to me is what I would call a low acid wine, so it doesn't really have a whole lot of acid. It doesn't have a whole lot of brightness. That's why for me I kind of put it in like the Chardonnay category, just because it's a lower acid, like a lot of Chardonnays are, and it's a little bit softer. It has some of that diacetyl like you would find in a barrel fermented Chardonnay. That's kind of how I would describe the acids in the Confluence. Also, body, it's kind of I would say a fuller bodied wine, medium to full bodied. So these are all the kinds of things that you want to be thinking about when you're actually tasting the wine. Where's the acid level at? Is it full bodied, medium bodied, light bodied? Light bodied more like water, full bodied more like milk, the way it feels in your mouth, kind of the weight on the palate. Then after the sip, the last S, the fifth one is going to be what they call savor. So after you swallow like a sip of wine, there's actually a little bit of flavor that generally kind of hangs around. And that's what winemakers call the finish on a wine. So it's the flavor of the wine that kind of lingers on your palate after you've already swallowed it. So that's what we call with the fifth S as savor. So go ahead and take another sip, and then right as you swallow it, try to kind of think about the flavors that are hanging around. Are they pleasant? Are they unpleasant? Is it what you would say long finish that kind of like takes a little while to go away? Is it a wine where as soon as you swallow, the flavor's gone? So after you take this sip, kind of think about that for a second after you swallow it. And so I would say for a white wine, it has a relatively long finish. I mean, it kind of hangs on there for a little while. You can taste those orchard fruits, like the kind of apple and pear flavors. They kind of just hang there, like in the on your palate for a little while after you actually swallow the wine, and that's what we refer to as as the finish. So that's your 5 S's. So any wine you come across now, if you want to really truly evaluate it and get the best experience out of your wine drinking, that's what you want to do. So you want to go and you want to look at it, you want to swirl it, you want to get it, smell it, evaluate the aromas, sip it, and then savor it at the very end. Kind of sit there for a second. Don't just go ahead and go for that next sip immediately. Kind of let it sit there for a second and think about what it tastes like and those sorts of things. So take a second to reflect. Drinking well-made complex wines is all about kind of reflection and thinking about the wines and thinking about the different nuances and flavors and things and the combinations that you get in these wines. So I think we're ready to jump right into the actual pairings. So we've already got Confluence in the glass. If you've already emptied yours out, you might want to put a little bit more back in there to do the pairing, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first pairing is going to be the Confluence with the Cookies and Cream bark. So again, the Cookies and Cream bark is this one right here. It's really the only bark out of the chocolates that you guys got, and then the Confluence you got right here, which you should already be familiar with. All right, so when we go to taste and do like a pairing between food and wine, generally the way I like to do it, and I don't know if this is universal or if this is just my preference, but I usually like to take a sip of wine and then take a bite of the food. But I want to try to leave a little bit of wine in my mouth. Like, you don't go ahead and make sure that all the wine's out of there before you go ahead and take the bite, because the magic really happens when you get the mixture of the wine with the food. So, take a sip, maybe leave a little tiny bit in there, don't swallow all of it, take a bite of chocolate, and then take another sip of wine to kind of wash it down with. And just kind of leave it in there for a little while. Make sure you definitely chew it all up, give it time to kind of come together, because that's really going to make the difference is in being able to see kind of what the pairings do. So, pairing wine with any sort of food is really an art in itself. We're looking at all of the flavor characteristics, such as the salt and the sugar balance, the acid balance in the food and the wine, how much fat is in the food. When you're talking about something like chocolate especially, is it a really creamy chocolate? Is it a dark chocolate? Is it going to be bitter? Is it milk chocolate? All these things kind of make a difference when you go to choose which wines to optimally pair with which chocolates. So some of the reasons we paired the Confluence with the cookies and cream. The Confluence is a fuller bodied wine, and it has kind of, like I said, that a little bit of a buttery sort of character to it. And we thought that would go really well with kind of the buttery character of the cookies and cream. The cookies and cream is not quite as heavy or as rich, I guess I would say, as some chocolates are. It's definitely sweet, so I wouldn't. It's the reason why we didn't pair it with the whitetail, for instance, because the cookies and cream chocolate is really sweet. So if you go to pair it with the whitetail, now you've got sweet with sweet. It can kind of get to be too cloying. So we wanted to kind of complement the creamy nature of the chocolate with the creamy nature of the Confluence wine. But in addition to that, we wanted to make sure we had a dry wine so that the sweetness of the chocolate and of this specific cookies and cream bark didn't, combine to just create this super duper sweet cloying sort of thing. So, the dryness of the Confluence, it kind of cleans up your palate a little bit, and it kind of lightens the whole experience so that it doesn't, it's not too much, kind of levels out the chocolate. So let's go ahead and take a bite. So we take a sip first. You can kind of see how the white chocolate, I wouldn't call it fruity, but it definitely has a different flavor than dark chocolate. And something about that white chocolate mixed with the fruitiness and that kind of pear character of the Confluence really creates a nice flavor combination. So that's one of the things we loved about this. And also kind of the crunchiness, because this is more like a textural thing than a flavor thing, but you've got this kind of super duper smooth wine that's very soft and very easy to drink. And then you have the kind of the crunchiness of the cookies and cream from the cookies in there. And I really like that combination, that kind of super duper creamy thing with this juxtaposition of this like crunchy, sweet sort of chocolate. So this is more of an example of kind of going opposite directions, like this is a super sweet, creamy sort of, bark, this crunchy, and then we went with this Confluence, which is dry, fruity, not super duper rich, but definitely, not high acid, not acidic, but creamy enough to be able to meld with the chocolate itself, but not overpowered either, because that's the other thing. The cookies and cream is also a little subtle. It's not a very flavorful, I guess, chocolate. I mean, it's flavorful, but it's not something like that has overbearing or domineering flavors. So you wouldn't want to go, with a red wine, I don't think, because the red wine would probably overpower the flavors in the chocolate. So that's why we went with the Confluence with this one. So curious to see what you guys think. I really like this pairing, and I definitely really like this chocolate. So I hope you guys are enjoying it as well. So the next wine that we're going to jump to after the Confluence is going to be the Kindling Edition 3. It's this wine right here. And this is, as I said earlier, a dry red wine that we grow and make here at Cedar Rose Vineyards. One thing I didn't mention that I probably should, all of our wines are 100% Jersey grown, so we make sure that everything that goes into these. We've either grown it, about 95% of the wines that we make, the fruit comes from our vineyard here. We have about 22 acres that we grow on down here. We're right outside of the Millville, Vineland area. If we ever have to buy fruit in, we always buy fruit in from local vineyards, so we want to make sure that we're making wine from Jersey fruit, because the whole point and one of the main reasons why we started this winery was that we want to make sure, that we're doing Jersey proud, right? Like we want to make sure that, that we're making good, high quality wines out of New Jersey grown grapes, so that we can prove to people that we can make good wines here, so that's always been kind of a big cornerstone of the operation since day one, really. So as we move on to our kindling, another thing I should mention also, the chocolates, if you're ever down our way in Vineland, the chocolates actually come from a local chocolatier, Barbera's Chocolate, and they do a fantastic job. We serve their chocolate in the winery here as a dessert item, and whenever we want to do any of these events, they're always our go-to place. So if you ever happen to be down here, they have a nice little shop in Vineland, and they do a really, really nice job and have some really amazing chocolates that they make over there. So we'll be pairing the kindling with the red velvets. So that's this little guy here. And we'll just jump right into it. So the same kind of thing, like I said, like last time, we want to go ahead and take a bite. Take a sip, then take a bite, then take another sip. Might take a couple sips to wash that one down. There's a lot going on in that chocolate. So some of the things we were thinking about when we made this pairing, again, we went with the kind of the juxtaposition of the sweet, super sweet chocolate with the drier wine, because this red velvet one is really sweet. I think it's actually sweeter than the cookies and cream. And for that reason, we went with the red, and with the kindling, kind of went the other direction with the dryness. Also, since the red velvet is like a chocolate-based, well, I guess it is chocolate, really. It's just kind of like a dyed chocolate. The red velvet we thought would go good with the red wine, since it has like more of a chocolatey character to it. Even though you have the white chocolate around the outside, I think the inside and the chocolate on the inside kind of pairs nicely with the kindling without overpowering it too much. So now we're going the other direction. We don't want the chocolate to overpower the kindling, right? We don't want the chocolate to overpower the wine. Kindling, it's a dry red wine. I would say it has more of like it's fruity, but not overly fruity. It has more of like an earthy or sort of woodsy, spicy kind of character to it. And, we thought that kind of complexity and nuance would be something that would play well with the red velvets. Kind of add some interest to it. Add kind of some nuance and some interest to the pairing. So, and again with the fruit from the kindling, a little bit of fruit flavor, kind of mixing in with the red velvet interior and with the white chocolate again. Really gives it something like a berry sort of infusion, and almost get you thinking of like a chocolate cordial or something like that. I do think you probably could have paired a white wine with this as well. You could have kind of gone the other direction with the white chocolate, like we did with the Confluence. So it's not always kind of a one size fits all thing when it comes to pairing. It kind of depends on really the flavor you're trying to go for. So you can be creative in the flavor combinations that you're trying to make. If you can kind of imagine it, and if you have it in front of you to give it a shot, taste this, try this, you'd be surprised that there really are some that do work, and then there are others that do not work at all. And so there is an art to figuring that out, but a lot of it is honestly just sitting down and just trying to pair stuff. That's like why like a charcuterie board is so much fun, because you can you have all this stuff on one plate, that you can just kind of say, all right, let me grab a cracker, I'm gonna get some cheese, let me get an olive, some bruschetta, and you can kind of just mix and match. You can throw an apricot on there, whatever, and you get to see kind of what that flavor combination tastes like. So in a way, that's also one of the reasons why it goes so well with wine, because you can have all this whole charcuterie in front of you, and then you can kind of pick and choose what you want and say, oh, how's this olive taste with this kindling, So that's one of the things we try to do here is we have a make your own charcuterie set up. So we basically have a charcuterie menu that's a la carte, and you can go through and kind of pick which items you want, and then we do flights. So some of the things I've seen people do is they'll get a flight of 5 different wines, and then they'll get a charcuterie board with a bunch of items on it. And you can have a lot of fun just kind of going back and forth and saying, oh man, like what's this taste like with this, and what if I add this on, and let me try it with this wine, let me try it with that wine. So there's a lot of fun to be had with pairing food and wine. If you have the time and you want to kind of sit down and put something together, it's a lot of fun. Or you can just come see us and we'll do it for you. So, all right, well that's the kindling there. The next one we're going to move on to is the whitetail. So, the whitetail we've got here. Oh, back in the camera. There we go. So, whitetail is a semi-sweet white wine made with a grape called Cayuga. That's a French-American hybrid variety that was developed, I believe, at Cornell. And it has a lot of nice lemon citrus character to it, and also usually a little bit of melon character as well. So we went ahead and paired this with the vanilla buttercream. So go ahead and grab the vanilla buttercream, and go ahead and pour yourself out a little bit of whitetail, and we will go ahead and get started. All right, so we've got our whitetail in our glass here. So and we've got our vanilla buttercream. Here we go. So let's go ahead and get to tasting. I really like that one. Generally, I'm a fan of drier wines, but when we do these sorts of pairings, the way that you kind of put things together, you can make dry wines, taste a little less dry. You can make sweet wines taste a little less sweet, and you can kind of just make something in tandem that tastes delicious. That it's kind of hard to say no to. So the reason we went with this pairing here, so we've got the whitetail, a really nice citrus, lemon sort of character with it, and like I said, on the sweeter side, so it's about 4% sugar. This chocolate was a little bit less sweet because it actually had the darker chocolate around it. It wasn't quite, I would say, like I said, I think the red velvet one was the sweetest. I would say this one was probably the least sweet. So that was kind of why we went with the whitetail, because this is a little bit less sweet, which means we can go a little bit more sweet maybe with the wine. And also, whitetail has a really nice, bright acidity to it. So we also thought, since this is a softer sort of chocolate as well, kind of like the velvet as well, but this is a softer sort of chocolate and a creamier sort of chocolate, the acidity from the whitetail really does a nice job of kind of cutting through that heaviness and that creaminess, and kind of making it taste a little bit lighter, I guess would be the way to describe it. For me, honestly, the combination of the actual buttercream filling with the whitetail, it almost gets like a lemon meringue thing going, which is really cool. It just has a really, really nice citrus, mixed with that cream flavor. So that's kind of reminds me of a lemon meringue pie or something like that. Yeah, I think all of those pairings are really delicious. I don't know which one was your favorite, but I think maybe either the whitetail or the confluence might have been mine. But I also really like the kindling one as well, and I have to say that all the chocolates were fantastic. Well, if you guys want to learn anything more about us at Cedar Rose Vineyards, you can always check out our Facebook page where we're going to have our events posted. We're going to be keeping everyone up to date with what's going on here. Currently harvest, which is always interesting to keep track of. It's a crazy time for us, but it's also an exciting time having all the new fruit come in and getting new wines started and everything else. So you can always catch up with us on there, or if you want to learn more, you can go to www.cedarrosevineyards.com. We'll also have our events listing on there, as well as some pictures of the facility. And you can also purchase our wines if you're in New Jersey. So if you happen to live in New Jersey, we can ship anywhere in Jersey, and we have a web store on our website. So feel free to go on there and take a look if you're interested in checking out some more of our wines. And I want to thank everyone again for supporting your great calls. And for tuning in, and I hope everyone enjoyed the wines and the chocolates and learned something maybe in the process. All right, well, thank you so much, and I hope to see some of you down here soon.